Okay, what's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So today we're going to talk the U.S. Travel advisory, the U.S. travel ban on Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to talk about the 21 deportee, 17 men, 4 women from the USA back to Trinidad and Tobago, and reports coming from the government suggesting that they're unable to cope with these 21 deportee. You're probably not going to like this topic today, but it has to be said. It has to be spoken about. You have to be aware of this because the local news, as usual, are not reporting on this sufficiently enough. Trinidad and Tobago is now ranked by the US government as a level 3 travel risk. A level 3 travel risk. This puts us in the same category as countries like Venezuela, Guyana, and even Russia. Yes, an illustrious list there. So some people might shrug and shrug their shoulders and say, so what? America has always been bashing the Caribbean, always been bashing the likes of Trinidad, Haiti. This is nothing new. But today I want to explain to you why I believe this matters, why this matters so much to you in Trinidad, why this matters to the Caribbean in general. And ironically, why being an undiverse economy in this instant kind of is a win for us. Never thought I'd say that, but I'll explain all in a minute. So the US State Department updated its global travel advisories recently. And of course, like I said, Trinidad and Tobago is on the list under a level 3. So what does that mean? What is a level 3? A level 3 essentially means reconsider traveling to Trinidad and Tobago. It's one up from a level 4, which is the worst, which is advice not to go to Trinidad and Tobago under any circumstances. Like I said, Guyana, Venezuela, and Russia are countries that are also on that list. Interestingly, countries, some of Americans' allies are on that list as well. Some of their closest allies are on the list on that travel ban, be it they're on a slightly higher level. Countries like Spain, believe it or not, Germany, and even the United Kingdom, the UK, was placed on a level 2, which means exercise increased caution if you are traveling to the United Kingdom, Spain, or Germany. The irony is America is one of the most dangerous countries on the planet. One of the most dangerous countries on the planet. That's a fact. Do your research. Everything from domestic terrorism, you name it, happens in America. But going back to us and how this affects us in Trinidad, what does a level 3 mean? It essentially means that the US is warning its citizens only to travel to Trinidad if it's absolutely necessary. Essentially, they're saying to their citizens it's not safe to travel to Trinidad and Tobago. And the reasons they gave to justify this this level 3 advisory is violent crime. Most of you will not be surprised by that. To include murders, robberies, kidnapping, ransom, etc., etc. So essentially, they've listed a couple of places in Trinidad actually as no-go areas, and they put Port of Spain, Beetham, Sea Lots, and Laventil. So all you gangsters and bad boys in in these areas, this is the areas they've warned their citizens not to go to. And they said you're likely to face sexual assault, home invasion, gang violence, and of course murder if you were to travel to these parts of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not a story I'm excited to report on. It's one of those stories that I feel that you need to know about, but I'm not excited about telling you about this. They also cite deep-rooted corruption in law enforcement and politics, by the way, as another reason, cited as another reason not to travel to Trinidad and Tobago. Like I said, this is not something that excites me to report on, but I don't feel the media in Trinidad does this justice as to why it affects us and what a level 3 ban actually mean. So if you think yourself, well, this doesn't really affect Trinidad, I'm going to explain to you why it does. Once a country gets branded unsafe, especially by America, this goes global. So everyone listens to America, unfortunately, to this day. Most countries do. So you have airlines or flights that travel to the Caribbean. They increase their premiums, which means that they offset the price onto anyone flying to Trinidad and Tobago. Tour operators stop selling packages because the insurance premium goes up. And people, the diaspora, the people who live on foreign soil who were born in Trinidad, they obviously think twice about traveling because of these warnings. And, you'd probably have relatives who live abroad asking you if it's safe to travel to Trinidad and Tobago. So this is an effect that it has, The cost is a cost implication. Obviously, people are, worried about traveling to Trinidad and Tobago. That's only natural if they're warned not to by America. But this isn't just about crime. It's about the economy. It's about opportunity. And most of all, it's about the international respect that we lose from the international community worldwide. It's kind of an embarrassment, actually. When you're on that list. There's not many other Caribbean islands on that list, by the way, and we're up there with Guyana and I believe Jamaica may be on that list as well. So let's put this into perspective. You can't brand yourself as a top Caribbean business hub or a major energy player, whilst sitting on a list or lists besides failed states, if you want to call it that, like Venezuela, and war zones like Russia. That's the list that we're on. America called Venezuela a failed state. They have been extremely negative towards their leader, Maduro. And of course, Russia-Ukraine war that's going on. That's why they're on that list. We are on that same list, which is insane. Now, I know some of you are already saying, but hold on, Germany and the UK are also on that list, right? They are on that list. That's very true. But they are on a level 2, not a level 3. There's a big difference between a level 2 and a level 3. And let me explain. The warning about not going to the UK, Germany, Spain, which I find laughable, but they're warning mostly about terror threats in public spaces. That's essentially what it is, right? Terror threats in public spaces or small pockets of civil unrest that I haven't seen happen in the UK in a long time, or Germany. So I'm not sure what America's playing at here. So just to let you know, there is a difference between the two, right? A level 2 and a level 3. Trinidad is obviously different. Like I said, we're talking about what they're talking about happening in Trinidad is daily crime, daily violent crime. They also cited no conviction rates as well as another reason. And they also cited that Trinidad struggles to maintain order. So there's quite a few things on the list, actually, as to why they graded Trinidad on that level 3. It's quite annoying, to be fair. Like I say, America is a fallen empire. They are a falling empire. So I kind of take what they say with a pinch of salt. And there's a lot of hypocrisy involved in this because America itself is one of the most dangerous developed countries in the world. They are literally one of the most dangerous developed countries in the world. Mass shootings happens there more than any other country on the planet. School shootings happens there more than any other countries on the planet. You have police killings, far right or right wing extremist attack, domestic terrorism, and some of these things happen almost on a weekly basis. So there's a lot of hypocrisy involved in this, as you can see. So they should not be the ones telling us we are unsafe, but that's America's prerogative. They can actually do what they want. Like I've said to you, they kind of rule over us in many ways. We call ourselves sovereign. We are not sovereign in any way, shape, or form. So under Trump, I believe, or it's clear that America is moving like a rogue state, right? These lists aren't always about. It's not always about safety. I think sometimes they use it as a political tool, as you saw with Venezuela and the cancelling of the Dragon's gas field deal between Venezuela and Trinidad. people listen to America. When America talks, people still listen, right? Especially Americans. The world listen, but of course, Americans listen. And once you've stamped, or once your country is stamped with a level 3, your country becomes almost psychologically marked as a no-go zone. And this is a difficult one to brush off. This is a difficult one because if in a few months' time or in a year time we go up to a level 2, it's still locked into people's psychosis that at one point Trinidad was a level 3. You know, and the irony about all of this is, unlike many other Caribbean islands, Trinidad doesn't actually depend on tourism. So people may say, well, you know, you talk about how this could potentially affect the tourism sector. Trinidad doesn't actually rely on it. We don't rely on cruise ships. We don't rely on souvenir shops to survive, unlike some other Caribbean islands. Our economy is built on oil and gas, as most of you who watch my videos know. So weirdly, this negative travel rating won't actually affect us as hard as it would do if, say, Barbados or St. Lucia was put on that list, ironically. And I never thought I'd be saying that. So in this case, not having a diverse economy is working in our favor. You know, so it's a strange one. It's a very, very strange one. But don't get too comfortable by that, because this still affects Trinidad and Tobago. And it affects us in many other different ways apart from tourism. So we have to look at things like foreign investment. Who is going to invest in a country that's on a level 3 ban? Currently, we're looking for investment in Petrotrin to revamp that company. And if I'm a foreign investor, I'm looking at that level 3 ban in order. Economic diversification is another thing, right? It's exactly what I'm talking about. And how the world sees us in the long term is another thing. So it's incumbent on our current leadership to get us out of this mess. This level 3, travel restriction is not a good thing for us all around. And finally, I want to talk about the deportations. It's another thing affecting Trinidad. So the US just deported 21 Trinidadian nationals back to Trinidad. And they are all Trinidadians, not Tobagonians. They're all Trinidadians, by the way. There were 17 men and 4 women were deported back to Trinidad. And I've seen some headline news saying that we are not in a position to handle these deportees. It's just 21 people. But this comes just weeks after they deported 11 more in March, by the way. So, you know, we're up to 32, I believe, deportees from America back to Trinidad. And most of them were detained in the U.S., or most of them were detained in U.S. immigration facilities, awaiting to be deported back to Trinidad. And to be honest, our government our government was barely given notice about what was going on. That's the way Trump is running the country at the minute. So the U.S. says they are stepping up deportation. If you pay attention to the news, especially under the Trump hardline immigration policies. So the Caribbean is a huge target. In the meanwhile, they are bringing in people from South Africa who they say are being genocide. It's pure insanity. So ICE is now empowered to deport even long-term residents, even though those people are not safe. Even if you have lived in the United States for decades, you are not safe under this regime, under the Trump presidency. So these people being deported aren't just criminals. You know, they're just people who have overstayed their welcome or maybe have committed a minor crime. Some have families, some have homes, they have jobs. And now they are being sent back into countries already struggling with unemployment, crime, and weak support systems. I'm sure some of you would be familiar with that in Trinidad. It's not a good thing. It's not good for Trinidad. I mean, but what can you do? This is what we are faced with. This is what we are faced with under a Donald Trump presidency. And that's the reality. This is why I say we must build our own. We must stop relying on America. We have to, at some point, we have to stop relying on America. So crime isn't just a Laventil problem. It's not just a bad parenting problem like people tend to say in Trinidad. It's not even just a police problem. Well, it certainly isn't a police problem. Police can't fix this issue because by the time it gets to the police, it's generally too late. The police essentially put a plaster over the wound and hope for the best. This is a national economic crisis, right? And while we ignore it, the world is watching, and they see a country losing control. So everything that's happening adds to how the world views us. This travel ban, or travel advisory affects how the world sees us. And I would argue that they would see us, of course, in a much more negative light. So as I wrap up on this, the next time you hear someone say that America's business is not ours, you need to remind them. You need to remind them that it certainly is. We rely so much on them. This affects Trinidad's global reputation. If you care about that and how we look on a global stage, we are affected by all of this. And no amount of oil and gas will protect us if the world sees us as unstable, unsafe, and untrustworthy, quite frankly. So that's it. That's where we stand currently. I'm not going to go on too much. I've taken enough of your time if you've stayed right to the end of this video. Listen, we need real leadership in Trinidad. We need real reform, and we need it now. You hear me say this on most of my video. I look at Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, and I liken his leadership to what we require in Trinidad. Because if we don't act, we'll stay on this list for years to come while others move forward and leave us behind, essentially. We have to do our utmost to get off this list, even if it's not for... I don't particularly care about America per se in this. I really care about the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago and how this is affecting us. So we have to do our best to get off this list, and what we're doing now isn't working. So that's it. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. To all my subscribers, everyone who come on and like and comment, even the haters, thank you. You help the algorithm. But mostly for the people who support me in this channel. I really appreciate you guys, man. You guys are building a massive platform here, and we're growing quickly. And when I checked YouTube recently, this is one of the fastest growing new YouTube channel in the Caribbean, or representing the Caribbean. And that's all thanks to you guys. So I thank you for your likes, your subscriptions. There's 50% of you or 60% of you haven't liked and subscribed to Trinidad Empowerment Network. So please, if you can do so and get us up to that 4,000, 5,000 mark in the next few weeks, that would be awesome. Tell a friend to tell a friend, like, share, and I'll see you guys on the next video. For now, much love. Take care. My brothers and sisters, peace.